inner and outer posture is incredibly important. And so when you are not sitting straight and you are slouched, you're not going to find the center piece. There's a column within the center of your body, and that column you're needing to find. Now, what I learned throughout time is that I would move my pelvis back and forth until I felt I was lined up. So often what happens is that your back is arched a little bit and it gets more and more sore as the time goes by. If you're getting in pain, you're needing to find how to open a space, because this passage of the Sushumna, but also each of the vertebrae, this is all interconnected. All these nadis, all these acupuncture points, all these meridians in the body, all are needing to line up and open up. And so by finding the right pelvis rotation, and you just basically find that space where you feel, okay, now I'm getting lined up. And it is about holding a posture. That is really what meditation is about. And often what happens is that people slouch after a while, and meditation becomes more difficult and becomes heavier because your body becomes heavy. So one of the things in which I concentrate on is the spaces between each vertebrae, that not because I've completely stretched them out, but that I'm literally lifting myself from the top of my head. So if I lift myself from this part, I'm going straight up. If I take from the crown of my hair right here, and I take it, my head tilts down a little bit. And what happens to a lot of people is that the energy within the neck and within the shoulders all get blocked. It's when you get really heavy. So if you just look at the crown of your head, and you were to take your hair and lift yourself up, you realize that now your skeleton is lifted up a little bit, and there's a space that opens up in your neck. Now, it took me a long time to be able to hold that, because what would happen to me is that my neck would collapse and my body would start to sag, and I would lose that connection. So a part of meditation is about finding the spaces between spaces. So it's like finding the space between each vertebrae. It's rotating your hips and finding the right spot to line that up. Now, if we do not have a great intent, a great focus, before we go into meditation, we have an ordinary meditation. And that means that if I concentrate on the heart, which is sort of the hub of the universe, then I have a great intent. If there is no intention, I will have an ordinary experience. If my intent is to really, even if I just sit at the doorway of my heart, so just imagine these are great doors that are both of this meditation hall and the yoga hall. These are great doors. Even if you cannot find your way into this temple of the heart, then sit in front of the door until at one time, today, tomorrow, maybe the third day, maybe today, you'll all of a sudden feel like you've just walked through that passage. Now there's a show on TV, oh man, what is that called? It's where they go through a porthole, and there's all this Stargate. Well, that's actually very much what it feels like, that you're walking from one space. So it's like you're in this room, and you're walking through another dimension. We talked about the subtlest of consciousness. It's so subtle that if you think that it's a physical activity of I'm going to march into that heart, it is not. So in a sense, you just quiet your mind, you quiet your eyes, you quiet your smell, you quiet your taste, you quiet your ears, you quiet your hands. It's like you're needing to take all these senses and just go, shh, be kind to me. And the mind will do so. For years, I would go through this burning, never realizing I could actually communicate with the mind. So, and I never realized that we could actually speak to the senses. And so we can speak to the senses by going, shh, go with him, be quiet, it's okay, let go. Now, maybe it is the inner child that we're talking to. Maybe it's the inner senses. it doesn't really matter. What matters is that we are kind. And if kindness is bestowed upon ourselves, the mind stops to roar. If we do not find this kindness and compassion for ourselves, the mind won't stop roaring. So this morning I was lying in bed and I'm thinking, God, how lucky am I to do this, to share this with you. And then I realized, what is the common denominator? Well, obviously it is me, because you have all come. But it is because all of your hearts are great. You have great hearts. You are seekers. You are individuals that are learning. You are seeking. You're on a path of evolving. If you had an ordinary heart, you would not be here. So you have an extraordinary heart. Mandela talks about, finding not the ordinary self within ourselves, but finding the extraordinary self. And I sincerely mean this within my heart. Find the extraordinary self. If you want to experience the self, you must have great love for yourself. And for a very long time to sit there and say, oh, I love myself, I love myself, sounds sort of self-fulfilling. But after a while, I realized it was about kindness, and it was about compassion, and that it was about love, and that it wasn't about saying, oh, I'm extraordinary. It was about kindness. Treat yourself with great respect, with great love. And it is this that opens that door, because the heart doesn't open until we display that great grace and great love and that great respect for ourselves. So throughout the meditation, make sure that I call it elongate. I think it's a word I've made up because I think people tell me it is not an English word. But in horseback riding, there's elongate, so I think that's where I got that from. So it's about lengthening your neck throughout so that your neck is not collapsed. And just by tilting just your chin just a little bit throughout and holding that is going to help you. So we're going to ask John to turn on the tamboura. We're going to ask Vincent to turn the lights down. The tamboura is an instrument that is the hum, the buzz, the sound of the entire universe. It is the that lies within. Now, I talked about many of my experiences yesterday, and that wasn't the benefit of mine, but for you. And so that is about, if that means you're having a moment, step into it. If you are having a difficult time, you can pull the energy right back into your third eye if you're very restless. If you are in experience where you're having glimpses, then concentrate on the spaces between your breath, or concentrate between the spaces of a breath or a thought. Find the spaces between the spaces.